At 1:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, the zipper on my carry-on woke my wife. She appeared in the bedroom doorway, mascara smudged from wherever she'd actually been, his name still glowing on the phone in her hand. She didn't ask where I was going. She said, "I don't belong to you," like she was canceling a gym membership. What she didn't know? The black envelope at the bottom of that suitcase had been ready for 3 weeks. In 9 minutes, she'd open it. Every name, every hotel, every signature on the papers I'd already filed. She wasn't supposed to hear that zipper. The cursed YKK on my carry-on betrayed me at 1:47 a.m., and Sienna appeared in the bedroom doorway like a shadow that knew its cue. Mascara smudged, phone still in her hand, the screen still glowing with the name Damon. I didn't turn around. I just kept folding the navy button-down she once told me made me look too safe. And I tucked it into the corner of the suitcase like I'd rehearsed it. Because I had. She said one sentence. Calm. Almost proud. "I don't belong to you." It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a sob. It was a notice. The kind you give a landlord. I zipped the suitcase shut, turned around, met her eyes, and said the sentence I didn't know was inside me until that exact second. "Then you're not my problem." No yelling, no insult. Just truth. Finally aired out between us like a sheet that had been left to rot in a closet. But let me rewind. Not to how we met. Not to the brunch place in South End where she laughed at my movie impressions. I'm not interested in selling you that version. Let me take you back to a business card. I found it in the inside pocket of her wool coat. I was going to drop the coat at the cleaners on Providence Road. The card was matte black. No logo. Just a number and a name. Damon. Discreet Services. My first thought was driver. My second thought, I swear to God, was dog walker. We don't even have a dog. I typed the number into a browser she didn't know I used. It didn't surface a business, it surfaced a private forum. The kind of forum men find when they've already started to understand. Men sharing screenshots of women, their women, with Damon. And there she was, my wife, wearing the moonstone pendant I bought her for our 5th anniversary, in a photograph she clearly did not know was being taken. A hotel room, heavy curtains, the Ivies, downtown Charlotte. I'd stayed in that exact building for a conference the year before. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I saved the photo to my phone. Then I emailed it to myself twice, once labeled groceries dash backup and once labeled tax_2024_Mayask, because she sometimes scrolled through my inbox over my shoulder, and I needed her to glaze right over it. That night, I told her I had a work trip, 4 days, out of state. She didn't look up from her phone. "Have fun being boring," she said. That was the last favor I ever did her. Pretending I didn't already know. Giving her the space to show me who she actually was when she thought I was gone. I wasn't gone. I was 9 minutes away, in a Holiday Inn Express off Tryon Street, watching the Bluetooth tag I'd dropped into the lining of her key fob blink steadily across a map. She drove straight to a building in Myers Park that doesn't list on Google. And when I heard her laugh through a cracked third-floor window, I stopped being her husband. Right there, on the sidewalk. So now I'm packing, and she's leaning against the doorframe like this is just another one of our petty fights. Like I'll be done sulking by sunrise and back to making her oat milk lattes while she scrolls through Damon's texts on the couch. She didn't know this was the last night. "You're really leaving?" she said, arms crossed, voice flat. Over a number in my coat pocket? I didn't answer. She already knew. She was just checking whether I'd fold. Whether I'd play the role I'd played so well for 3 years. The quiet one, the safe one, the tech guy who waited at home while she had client dinners. I wasn't that guy anymore. I slid my laptop into my bag, zipped it slow, and looked at her. The smudged mascara, the performance of confusion, the flicker of real panic behind the composure. For once, she wasn't holding the steering wheel, and that scared her more than getting caught. "You don't get to walk out like this," she said, stepping into the room. "After everything I've tolerated from you." I laughed. I didn't mean to. It just came out sharp and tired. "You tolerated me? You? After I paid off your law school loans? After my cousin got you in the door at the firm? After you started sleeping on the couch and blamed me for your career stress?" She froze. I kept going. "You're right. You don't belong to me. You belong to whatever you've been building behind my back. But that life is about to get significantly harder." That's when I pulled out the envelope. Black. Unsealed. Tucked under the sweaters at the bottom of the suitcase. I'd been building it for 3 weeks. I'd hired a guy, quietly, through a contact at work who knew a contact. He followed her, took photos, pulled receipts, tracked her car when she said she was at Pilates. She was not at Pilates. I handed it to her. Her fingers were already shaking when she opened the flap. The photos came out first, then the screenshots, then a printout of the Ivy's bill with her ID on file and Damon's name on the second line. She looked at me like I'd just opened her up in silence. "What is this?" she whispered. "Insurance," I said. "So when you tell your friends I was controlling, when you tell HR I was emotionally distant, when you tell your mother I just walked out one day for no reason, you'll know I have a digital release scheduled. It goes out automatically if any of those stories start circulating." She backed up barefoot onto the cold hardwood, holding the envelope like it was wet. "Good luck with Damon," I said as I passed her. "Hope he likes liars." She didn't follow me. She didn't yell. She just stood there in the hallway with the truth shaking in her hands. The elevator doors closed in front of me and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Control. But Sienna hadn't lost everything yet. Not even close. 4 days. That's how long I went completely silent. No texts, no calls. I didn't even look at her Instagram. Not because I didn't care, I did, more than I wanted to admit. But because I knew silence was the one thing she couldn't survive. Sienna needed an audience. Her whole life was curated for the camera. Take the camera away and she'd burn alive. On the 4th day, my phone rang from a number I didn't know. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice, tight and quick. "Marcus, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but we need to talk. Now." Game. That word made me actually laugh out loud in my new apartment in front of a cup of cold coffee. I didn't call her back, but I checked the tracker. She was at Merchant and Trade, the rooftop bar at the Kimpton in Uptown. Glass walls, candlelit booths, very on brand for a woman pretending nothing in her life was on fire. I waited until she was settled. Then I sent a message, not to her, to a small group chat I'd set up months earlier. 3 of her colleagues from the firm, burner emails. I'd been quietly compiling for a while. A strange lunch here, a contract with a generous referral fee there. Sienna wasn't just sleeping with Damon. She was steering business toward a vendor that had given her a Tom Ford handbag for her birthday and called it swag. HR would not call that swag. I typed, "She's here. Rooftop, red dress, top floor." One of them replied in 11 seconds, "On it." Time to light the fuse. The bar streamed a live promo feed on its website for ambience. I pulled it up on my laptop. There she was, head tilted just so, toasting some guy I didn't recognize. The picture of someone who has it all figured out. She didn't see her 2 colleagues walk in. They sat in a corner booth. One of them filmed 13 seconds of her laughing with a stranger and texted it to me. At 11:23 p.m., she checked her phone and saw my name. I typed only 4 words. "Smile. You're on camera." She froze on the screen, looked around, stood up so fast she knocked over her wine, said something sharp to the guy beside her, started walking fast to the exit. It was too late. I hadn't sent that message only to her. I'd sent the screenshot of her toasting Damon at the Ivies 6 weeks ago to her boss, her firm's HR director, and our shared family group chat. All at once, at 11:23 on a Tuesday night. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need a revenge montage. I just needed everyone to see her clearly. Once, the next morning she was at my door, holding 2 coffees, from Not Just Coffee on East Boulevard, the one we used to walk to on Saturdays. She wore my hoodie. The gray one, she said, smelled like home. The performance was so clean it was insulting. I watched her through the peephole for a full minute before I opened the door. "I figured we should talk," she said, stepping in without waiting for an invitation. "You've been unpredictable." I didn't answer. She set the coffee on my counter like a peace offering, scanned the apartment, took in the half-unpacked boxes. Her face curled at the edges, just slightly, like the place didn't meet her standards. "I didn't expect you to go nuclear, Marcus. The photos, you sent them to my boss." I said nothing. This could have stayed between us. It was almost funny how she still believed she could guilt me. After Damon, after the deleted threads, after the 11 months of client dinners. She really thought I'd care more about her career than the fact that she'd gutted our marriage and asked me to keep pretending the smell was something else. "You lied to everyone," I said finally. "Not just me. And you don't get to rewrite it now because the floor's coming up. It's not coming up." I tilted my head. "Has HR called yet?" The crack in her mask was a 1/4 second long. I saw it. They're investigating, she said too fast. But I didn't do anything illegal. It's just office politics. You blew this so far out of... No, I said. I just held up the mirror. You picked what people saw in it. She stepped back. The composure slipped, and the real Sienna stepped through for 1 second. I built everything we have. You think you're strong because you exposed me? You're just bitter. You couldn't keep up. You're trying to burn it all down on your way out. There it was. The truth, fully said. She'd never wanted a partner. She'd wanted a prop. Something safe to come home to when her other life got tiring. I was the fallback. The quiet one. The tech guy. Not anymore. I walked to the counter and handed her a manila folder. She opened it. For 3 seconds she didn't understand what she was reading. Then she did. The wire transfers. The new accounts at a credit union she'd never heard of. The petition for dissolution filed 3 weeks ago in Mecklenburg County. The notarized declarations. Everything past the point where she could delay it or counter it. She didn't know I'd been meeting with my lawyer since March. She didn't know I'd moved the joint savings into a trust the second weekend after I found the business card. You'll be fine, I said. You have your connections, right? Call Damon. She stood there with her mouth slightly open. For once in her perfectly filtered life, she had no caption. I'm done being a background character in your story, I said, walking past her to the door. Get out of my scene. She left without the coffee. It took 36 hours for Sienna to switch from defense to PR. She posted a long, soft-lit black and white photo of herself on Instagram with a 600-word caption about narcissistic relationships and outgrowing the people who were supposed to love you. Her followers ate it up. 5,000 likes in an hour. She'd been feeding them this version of her life for years. Staged kitchen mornings, self-worth quotes, brave vulnerability that always somehow ended with her looking flawless. I didn't post. I didn't comment. I didn't argue. Because I knew something she didn't. There were more eyes on her now than ever before, and not all of them were on her side. One of her former interns DM'd me anonymously. Said she'd watched Sienna take a kickback on a vendor contract last fall and had proof. Emails she'd been forwarded before she got moved off the account. A guy Sienna had burned on a referral fee in 2023 sent me a voice memo. It was her, slightly drunk, laughing into the microphone. Being likable is so much better than being honest. People don't actually want honest. They just say they do. I didn't leak any of it. I forwarded everything quietly to her firm's ethics committee and to 2 journalists who covered legal and corporate misconduct in the Carolinas. No name. Just the documents. Just the recording. Then I waited. The first article hit 8 days later. It didn't name her. Not yet. A rising attorney with a substantial social media following is currently the subject of an internal review at a Charlotte firm related to undisclosed vendor relationships. Sienna posted a vague story that night about jealous exes and smear campaigns. The follow-up article, 3 days after that, named her outright. The likes started dropping. Brand collaborations paused. Her Friday morning podcast guest spot got postponed indefinitely. Emails went unanswered. She tried to cry on camera. She tried to gaslight the comment section. But the thing about pretending to be perfect is that when the mask slips, the sound it makes is much louder than you remember. And I hadn't even played the last card. Not the thing she was most afraid of, not him. Because deep down, she still believed Damon would take her side. He was already talking. I had not planned to ever speak to Damon. In my head, he was a shadow. A smug face in a poorly lit hotel photo. The guy who'd been enjoying my marriage while I rebuilt the wreckage. Then he called me. Direct. No block number. His full name on the screen at 11:06 p.m. on a Thursday. I let it ring twice. I don't know why I picked up. Curiosity, closure, something. He didn't sound smug. He sounded wrecked. Marcus, listen, man. I think you should know something. I didn't say anything. Just waited. I didn't know she was married when it started. She said you were separated, that you were emotionally cruel, that you were rebuilding her self-worth from scratch. And you believed that? He paused for a long time. I did. At first. And then I saw the photos from your email leak. The way she's been handling the fallout. That's not someone who's sorry. That's someone whose game broke. That's a generous read. I think she's done this before, Marcus. Maybe not the marriage part, but this type of thing. She plays a part. She reinvents. She gets bored. She sets fire to the version of herself that isn't useful anymore, and she walks into a new one. Something cold settled in my chest. He wasn't a villain. He was just the next idiot in line. "She used you," I said. "Yeah, I'm figuring that out." There was a pause then. "There's something you should see." He texted me a screenshot mid-call, a chat thread between them, her name at the top. The messages weren't flirty, they were calculating, cold. She talked about how the tech guy won't push back, and how she needed somebody alpha enough to fill the empty space at home. Empty space. That's how she described me. To him. In writing. I sat with the screenshot open on my screen for a long time after we hung up. I thought I'd already absorbed the worst of it. But that line dug another half-inch deeper than I expected. It also gave me something I hadn't had before. Proof that the betrayal wasn't impulsive. It was authored. With drafts. I forwarded the screenshot to one person. Just one. Bethany, her closest friend since college. The one Sienna had been gaslighting for 2 months about how I was the one causing all this. I didn't write anything. I just attached the image. Bethany never replied to me. But 2 days later, she posted on her own story. No names attached, no tags. Sometimes the people screaming loudest about being victims are the ones who are most afraid that someone finally saw through them. I'm done protecting what was never real. A few hours after that, a former coworker of Sienna's posted publicly under one of her self-recovery videos. "Funny how you preached about honesty while pocketing referral money." Wild. The comments under Sienna's posts shifted within 24 hours. The kind of shift that doesn't reverse. She started messaging me. Not from anger anymore. From inside the collapse. "Marcus, please. I just want to talk. Marcus, I didn't think it would go this far. Marcus, you're destroying my life. I made mistakes. I'm not evil. Please stop." I didn't respond. Not because I was savoring it, because there was nothing left to say. She didn't want me back. She wanted the steering wheel back. She wanted to retake the narrative. The last hit wasn't mine. A 22-second clip went viral on a drama subreddit. It was from one of her live stream rehearsals. She'd forgotten the mic was hot, talking to whoever was in the room with her. They're so easy. You cry a little, you say the right words, and they will defend you to the wall. It's almost embarrassing. Within a day, her follower count was bleeding in real time. The last 2 brand deals quietly disappeared from her bio. The people she'd used as set dressing for years went quiet, then unfollowed in waves. She posted an apology. The top comment read, "You're not sorry. You're just sorry we found out." I watched it from a bar stool at a place on Central Avenue, eating a burger, not doing a single thing. It's strange how quiet the world gets after the noise dies down. Not just the noise she generated. The noise I'd let live in my head for too long. For years, I'd been measuring myself against her moods, asking myself what I was doing wrong, what I could fix, how I could be more or less of whatever she needed that week. And then, quiet. Clean, undramatic, unimpressive quiet. Sienna went offline completely. I heard from one of the paralegals at the old firm that her contract wasn't renewed. The vendor she'd been steering work to dropped her contact info from their system. Damon stopped returning her calls the second he realized she'd dragged him into a fire she'd started on purpose. I left Charlotte in August. I took a remote contract for a smaller company up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, 3 states over by the long route, less money, fewer meetings, a parking spot at street level instead of a garage. I rented a small house on Lookout Mountain Road with a real kitchen and a porch that faced east. People up there don't ask what your ex-wife pretended to be. They ask how the drive was and whether you like barbecue. The bar for daily conversation is set so low, it's actually a relief. For the first few months, I kept waiting for the next betrayal, the next twist. Life had trained me to expect it. It never came. Slowly, my shoulders started to drop. I slept through the night. I ate like the meal was for me, not for someone watching. I met Riley at Starline Books on Fraser Avenue. She was reading a paperback I'd already read. She told me I had a nervous laugh and asked if I always talked with my hands that much. I said yes. She said, "Cool," and wrote her number on a receipt and handed it over without a word. We're not rushing. I'm not trying to plug a hole. She's not trying to be a solution. We talk. She listens. She makes fun of my movie impressions. When I told her about the last 3 years in 8 sentences, she didn't perform sympathy. She said, "Then it sounds like it's time for some quiet." She's right. I keep the suitcase on the top shelf of the closet now, the same one with the broken zipper. I don't know why I haven't thrown it out. Maybe because I don't need to. Maybe because it sits up there, unzipped, empty, finished. And that's enough. I don't drive past my old building. I don't check Sienna's accounts. I don't tell this story at parties. But if you've been reading it carefully and you recognized any part of yourself in the wrong half of it, the one waiting, the one apologizing for existing, the one being called empty space in a chat thread you haven't found yet, I'll only say this. You will know. There will be a black card in a coat pocket, or a receipt that doesn't match, or a laugh through a third-floor window. And when you know, you don't have to scream. You don't have to explain yourself. You just have to start packing quietly and let the zipper wake whoever it wakes. Hit subscribe if you want more of these. I'll be here.